Hi, welcome to episode 60 something. It's either 68 or 69. I could be totally wrong. I have no idea. Of the Stress Knits podcast. I'm Stacy, also known as Stress Knits on Instagram and Ravelry, but I don't really use Ravelry except for patterns. It was just taking up a lot of my energy, and I don't know. It's just not really in my mind space right now. So, Stress Knits on Instagram. I'm playing with Doug's shoes because he left them right here. But yeah, so that's me. I'm Stacy, and Diary Behind Stress Knits Yarns. That's really it. This is my pug puppy Esther. She found her mammoth the other day because she broke her bus, and we have to go get her a new one. But that's okay. Because we found her mammoth, which was her first toy we ever got her over a year ago. So, she's very sleepy today. Hi. Sorry if that's annoying. Yeah, so this is a knitting podcast. I primarily talk about knitting. I do talk a little bit about hand dyeing, which I'll talk about at the end because I have some updates and some goals, I guess. So we'll talk about that at the end. And my daughter's sleeping, so this might get cut short, or it might not even go up at all. Just depends on if she wakes up. Not if she wakes up, when she wakes up. I always hate when I say if she wakes up because it sounds really morbid and weird. But when she wakes up from her nap, I have to go get her. So she's also very sleepy. She just had her 4-month, she's been alive for 4 months. What day was it? It was the 14th. Today is October 17th. And, so she got her shots on Monday. Today's Wednesday, so she's still a little sleepy from her shots, and that happened last time, too. Which is good, because she doesn't get a fever. She just gets really sleepy for, 3 or 4 days, which is fine. So that's been a lot of fun, and Esther, love, hi. Esther's very cuddly today, and it's making me super happy, but sorry for the squeaks. It's keeping her entertained. Yeah, so I have my cold brew, and I only have 2 projects to talk about because I've been fairly monogamous. The first project I will talk about is a sweater I'm knitting for Eliza for this weekend because my best friend is getting married on the west side of the state. I am in Michigan, right outside of Detroit. Esther, love. And this is closer to Holland, if you have any idea where that is, but it's a little bit off of Lake Michigan. So it's going to be cold. The ceremony is outside, so Eliza will be all bundled up. And I thought I would knit her a new sweater because the first sweater I made before I met her. And it was a cute little pink sweater. It's over there. I need to wash it and block it. She spit up on it. But I wasn't really sure what her size was going to be, and she was supposed to be a July baby. She ended up being a June baby, and she had the possibility of being an August baby because my due date was at the end of July, but she came 6 weeks early, and she was really, really tiny. She was 3'1" when she was born. She's over 9 pounds now. It's great. But so I knit a newborn vertebrae, and I knit it to a T, but I knitted a little shorter, and I did short sleeves because it was going to be July or August when she was born, and Doug and I were both pretty large babies, and so we were kind of expecting her to be big, so it was mostly just a sweater to bring her home in, and but none of that happened according to plan, which is fine, and everything worked out, but the sweater, it still fits her, but it's much more of a, kimono style thing. The arms are very large, and, they're short. So it's just a little extra layering piece that we usually use. So I wanted to make her a sweater that she could wear with, long sleeves and all that. So I am just kind of making this up. So, so I just knit it all out of garter. because I love garter stitch baby sweaters. And so I knit it all out of garter, all in garter. And I separated for the sleeves and all that jazz. The sleeves are still going to be pretty big, but I want her to be able to wear stuff under it since it's going to get cold. Yeah, but it's very stretchy. So this should last her a long time, and I'm going to knit the sleeves a little long, at least a couple of long so we can cuff it until she grows into it. But hopefully this will last her all winter. I don't see why it wouldn't. But there's that. I did no ribbing. And then I just did an I-cord along the side, bound off an I-cord on the bottom. I'm debating whether or not I'm going to pick up and do an I-cord bind off on the edge just to kind of finish it off, but I don't really think it needs it, but I still might do it. And then the only ribbing that will be on this sweater is on the cuff. So, I don't know, I just made it up. It's nothing crazy. So there's that. I knit this out of Quince & Company Finch, which is the fingering weight. It's their Heathers in the kitty weight colorway. So I need to cake this up because this is all I have left of the first skein, which is great because I really won't use too much of this. They're 50-gram hanks, and I'm hoping I can do this and a lighter color. I think it's the Odwin Heather colorway, and do a Harlow hat out of it. I think that'd be really great. So there's that. I need to pick this up and finish it tonight or tomorrow. I could probably even finish it on the drive. It's about a 2.5 hour drive for us. So that is going on. Coffee break. It's gonna be a short episode. That's okay. So keeping with my year of Andrea, this is October, and I already did cast on my October, but there is a knit along going on for one of my favorite yarn stores I've ever been to, which is Wool & Honey in northern Michigan. It's not in Traverse City, but it's pretty close to Traverse City. When Doug and I went, my husband Doug and I went last summer, we stopped into Wool & Honey, and it's my dream store. It's just Brooklyn Tweed and Quince & Company everywhere. It's gorgeous. If you ever have a chance to go, you really should. But I just love it. So I follow them on Instagram, and they decided to do a Wool & Honey by Andrea Mowry knit along, and it kicked off October 15th, and it is finishing up November 15th. So this is the sweater. I'm pretty sure everybody knows this sweater, but Andrea named it after the yarn store. I'm gonna see if there's a better picture. Yeah, because I mean, this is just stuff that's on the main page. So there's the sweater. I've really loved this sweater for a really long time, but I just didn't have, because I wanted to make it out of Brooklyn Tweed, which is what the pattern calls for. I think she knit it in the Embers colorway. And I love Brooklyn Tweed, but it is pretty pricey. But Wool & Honey, because they're doing this knit along, they decided to give a discount on their Brooklyn Tweed to participate. So you had to purchase a kit from them, which came with a pattern and the yarn. And I think Brooklyn Tweed was like 15% off for the knit along if you're participating. So I was like, when is Brooklyn Tweed ever on sale? It's never on sale. So I bought, I'm knitting the size large because I like positive ease, even though I should probably knit the medium. I went with the size large, and yeah, so I'm really excited. So I got the large kit in the Hayloft colorway, again Brooklyn Tweed Loft. I really wanted to knit it in Embers colorway because I love a good burnt orange, but they didn't have it. So I went with my next favorite color for the sweater, which is Hayloft, and I kind of picked this color because Candace of Pin Feathers and Pearls has a sweater quantity for the sweater in this color, and I didn't think about knitting it in this color. I went back and forth a million times, and then I wanted to knit a sweater in this color for a really long time. so I just did it. Because I was also between their new color Yellowstone, which I really want a sweater out of, and their new color Pumice, which is a super pretty light peppery gray, and I love sweatshirt, and I love postcard, but I already have a sweater and postcard, and then I was looking at like wood smoke and all of those colors, but I really think this beautiful yellow, just a dirty yellow, is going to be perfect for it. So that's what I did, and I cast on after midnight on the 15th because I was up. I've been having a really hard time sleeping. Nothing's like going on, I get in these bouts of sleepless nights, and so I wasn't able to sleep, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna cast on because I needed a quiet space to do the tubular cast on, and so everybody was asleep, and it was like 2 in the morning, and I was very awake, so I just did it. And I'm almost through the first cake. I've already caked up the second. This is living in my first fringe bag. And I also have my Woolen Honey Notions pouch in here, which I love. It's the perfect little souvenir. So there's that, and then I did cake up my second skein. So there's that, and I'm almost done with the first chart. I think I have like 10 or 15 more rows, but I'm currently doing an increase round, but I just started it, so let me find the short rows in the back. So here it is, and I love this sweater. There is short row shaping in the back. I didn't do all of the short rows just because I never do all of the short rows. I do enough to get a little bit, but I personally don't think the number of short rows written I needed to do because I never do them. So I did that, and yeah, so I'm really enjoying this knit. I'm knitting this on a US 5, which is 3.75 millimeter. These are my signature needles. Love them. They're making this pattern very enjoyable because there's a lot of slip stitches and all that kind of stuff. So it's making it very easy to get into the stitches without splitting the yarn. I did make a mistake. So there are 2 things about this sweater. So the way that you make the honeycomb and the elongated stitches, I could not wrap my head around it. And it was the second night that I was doing it. So it was last night? No, it was the night of the 15th. So I just started the first little honeycomb pattern, and I could not wrap my mind around how to like split them and do the whole hexagonal motif, and it took me so long. I like wrote on the forum, and then I just kept reading it over and over, and I kept trying to do the first one, and it wasn't working out, and then it clicked. And I had to go back on the forum, and I was like, just kidding, I figured it out. Like, Doug read it out loud, I read it out loud a bunch of times, and it finally clicked. So I promise it's not hard. I just wasn't, literally just follow the directions. I was making it much more complicated than it needed to be. So there's that. And then yesterday I messed up and I didn't do something like I was supposed to. Let me find my mistake to show you because I fixed it today. And okay, so you see this little knot here? No, it's not that one. I broke a stitch, which happens with Brooklyn tweed sometimes. Okay, so this elongated stitch, it's a little funky, right? This whole little thing, you see this little mistake? So I knit it instead of cabling it or whatever you want to call it. So this wasn't there. So it didn't look right. There wasn't, and honestly it wasn't that bad. But I was thinking, since the elongated stitches are a thing, that I could just duplicate stitch it, and I did, and it worked, and you can barely tell. So that made me feel really good. And then the other, I just broke a stitch and I tied it in a knot and everything's fine. So yeah, Wool and Honey by Andrea Mowry. This is my November cast on for my Year of Andrea. It's gonna be perfect. And then the rest of November I can just catch up on what's left on my needles, which is my Shift Cowl, which is my October cast on, and my Birds of a Feather, which is my September cast on. And can we talk about the Night Shift shawl? It is so gorgeous. I just wish Spin Cycle wasn't so expensive. It deserves to be expensive because of the work that goes into it, but it's so pretty. And I don't want to knit it in anything other than Spin Cycle. So what I think I'm going to do is buy 1 or 2 skeins at a time, and then later on next year I'll knit it. Maybe it'll be like my February or March cast on. I don't know. I'm not going to rush it, and I'm so jealous of everybody that's going to Rhinebeck this weekend because they get to see it in person. We'll be at Indie Untangled. But I am so sad that I don't get my little throwback pin. So I test knit the throwback for Andrea, and at the Spin Cycle booth and at the meetup for the throwback, they're giving out little throwback enamel pins, and I won't be able to get one because I won't be there. So it bums me out a little bit, but I'm so excited for everybody going, so have so much fun. Yeah, this is gonna be really short. Okay, so I do have one stash acquisition. I forgot to grab the other thing. It's fine. So I participated in FiberShare this year, and I had a wonderful FiberShare partner from the west side of Canada, and she went to Knit City and asked me like what vendors I was really interested in, and I of course said Sweet Fiber. And she asked me colors that I really liked, and rose gold is right up my alley. So she got me 4 skeins of rose gold on the Cashmerino worsted base. Sweet Fiber. So I think I'm going to make a May out of it by Andrea Mowry. I've also contemplated buying 1 or 2 more skeins, excuse me, and knitting a worsted boxy. I'm not sure yet, but I wanted to knit the May for a while. It's actually my daughter's middle name. I think this would be a really great contender. It's very much my color palette. So you can see I wear this so much. I really need to do laundry. Yeah, but that's my only stash. And then, oh, I wanted to bring out Living in My Pearl Soho drawstring bag, which they gave me at Vogue Knitting Live in 2017 for buying the tote bag, which was really cool. Is housing Eliza's Cozy Memories blanket, all out of Stress Knits yarn. I just wanted to pull it out because it's making me super happy, and I really want to work on it. I think I need to put a skein of rattle, a square of rattle in here somewhere, but I just love it so much. All Stress Knits yarn. My battery's gonna die, but that's okay. Forgot to charge it last night. I went to bed super early because I haven't been sleeping, so I went to bed at 10 and forgot to plug my phone in. That's fine. So yeah, but anyway, there is my Cozy Memories blanket. I haven't worked on my granny stripe blanket. Well, I have, but I haven't really put anything super impressive in on it. So with that, I'm going to jump into some Stress Knits yarn news. So if you're not interested in that, thank you so much for watching. If you are returning, thank you for watching again. And if you're new, thank you for checking me out. I know this is not everybody's cup of tea, and I don't expect it to be, so if you don't like it, just move on along. No need for negative comments, and yeah, positive always. Anyway, so Stress Knits yarns. I am currently, well, not currently, I've been tying off all of my skeins so they don't get tangled in the dye pots. So I'm dyeing up a lot today. I want to get it done before I leave so that I can have an update next week. I was hoping for an update this week, but I'm recovering from a cold and it's just been interesting. So I'm dyeing everything today. All the pre-orders, advent calendars, which I really just need to get the advent calendars together. Everything's dyed for it. The pre-orders, everything will go out when I get home from the wedding, as long as they're dry. Yeah, and then I am still coming up with the colorways for my mixtape collection for fall winter. So I think I'm gonna do a fall winter mixtape every year, and so those colorways will keep coming out starting the next update and going probably through February. Esther's just enjoying life, eating a stick right now. Yeah, so I don't know why I can't think right now, but I am also, okay, so this is the goal kind of thing for Stress Knits. I'm finally starting to get into my groove with my daughter Eliza and really just understanding what she needs from me, and she really enjoys playing by herself for bouts at a time, and she also really likes her swing that we just put up and put together. So I can get dyeing done now, because she went through a big spell of, I mean, she could sit for a little bit, but I had to be next to her. She could lay down on her playmat for a little bit, but I had to play with her, which I love very, very much. But I think she's starting to get independent, which I really love watching. It's really cool. But that is going to enable me to get some work done while I'm home by myself with her. So, I am planning on really trying to go full force into Stress Knits. I've wanted to for a while. This is my 3rd year of dyeing. Yeah, my 2nd anniversary was around Eliza's birthday, of opening the shop and all of that jazz. So I missed it because I gave birth. But yeah, so I am in year 3 of dyeing yarn, which is crazy. I started it because I couldn't find a job when I graduated, and it was super frustrating, and I was dyeing yarn for myself and I really enjoyed it, and I was like, well, maybe other people like it, and some people did, and that was really, really cool. So I have just been slowly growing, which makes me happy because I dye out of this kitchen. As you can see, it is very tiny. That's all of it. That is the stove. It's the hood on my stove. It's small. Only 3 pots fit. So I can't really produce a crazy ton of yarn right now, which is fine. And I really enjoy that I still have the ability to play around with color and dye my own yarn and not feel super guilty about it, and just I'm very comfortable with where I'm at. But I've said this a million times, but I was never made to stay home. I love work. I always have. I've applied to jobs and stuff, just hasn't worked out, and then Doug and I decided, Doug didn't really care, but I decided to stay home with Eliza because it's what I wanted to do for a little bit, and now I'm starting to get that itch of like being really productive and really throwing myself into something. So I'm gonna do that with my yarn business so that I can continue to stay home with her and also fulfill that part of myself. And it's really exciting. So I was watching the Knit Girls a little bit ago, and they opened up their vendor application for the Super Summer Knit Together, which I've always wanted to go to, but it's a little pricey, and just kind of isn't possible right now. Maybe in a few years. But I have always wanted to vend at shows. Yeah, but I've always been too nervous to apply to do things like that, and you know what? I probably won't become a vendor for SSK, but if I do, I do, and I get to go to Nashville with my family and yeah, and just show and share what I love. So I'm putting this out there now that I'm applying to be an SSK vendor, and again, I probably won't get in. I've never done a show. I'm a fairly small company, and yeah, and it's just crazy, but I really just want to put myself out there, and I think I'm also going to apply to do Stitches Midwest next summer. And yeah, so, because I think it's in Columbus next year, which is only 3 hours from where we live. So it's a nice, easy thing to do. So I'm just throwing it out there, and it's mostly one of those things because if I say it out loud, I will actually do it. I was actually working on the application. It's a fairly simple application, but I'm trying to be better about explaining what I want and just kind of going after it. So I'm trying to be better about explaining who I am as a business and my philosophy and all that stuff, to really give people a better understanding of who I am, which is really stressful because being vulnerable is really hard, but you gotta do it sometimes to get to where you want to be. So we'll see what happens. Again, I'm not expecting anything. I'm just kind of doing it on a whim and hoping for the best. So with that, I hope all of you that are going to Rhinebeck this weekend have the best time and buy all of the wonderful things. I will be at my best friend's wedding, which I am so excited about. And yeah, so I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And if you're not going to Rhinebeck, I hope you treat yourself to something and just enjoy being home in the fall weather if you are somewhere where it's fall. And just knit something that makes you happy. So I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.